Can I just ask you one sort of general logistics question? Then I think we'll open it up to the audience. So, Carolyn, are you there alone? Are you with a reporter? And how are you actually moving around? Are you walking and hitchhiking with everyone else, or do you have a vehicle? Do you have support with you? How did that work?
So it was a mix of things. I worked with a rotating cast of reporters. So like we have specialists in national security, so a lot of the border stuff directly on the border, particularly regarding Border Patrol, was like a certain set of reporters, and then people on the caravan in Mexico was another set of reporters. But I was really lucky that I had an amazing editor, and she shared my vision for this. And so she kept assigning me immigration stories, and that was the only way we really got this done. And so that was really fortunate. With regard to logistics on the ground, I sometimes would be like with the caravan, sometimes be with a reporter, but the reporter would always be around, and occasionally we'd be working side by side, but most of the time I would be wandering off by myself, sometimes on foot, or oftentimes on foot, excuse me. I try to avoid hitchhiking too much, because I think, first of all, it's a place, it's inserting yourself in a really direct way into the story that I personally, I don't know how you feel about this, but I personally felt like that was problematic, so I didn't really do that. And then sometimes, like if the reporter was driving, they would pick me up, or there was one stretch in Oaxaca, actually, where the reporter got a driver, which was a lifesaver because he would want to go somewhere else and do something else, or write when I'm trying to work or whatever. And so it was the only real way that we could get around without one of us getting stranded somewhere. And also it was a security thing. But honestly, like part of the reason why people travel in these caravans is for security. Having all these families around me, a lot of people were wondering if I felt unsafe. And I really never did, because I was surrounded by a bunch of families all the time, and they all kind of had my back. And a lot of wonderful journalists. Yeah.
We met in an airport in Oaxaca for like 5 minutes.
But if I remember, we both were really sick.
We were all so sick. Logistics. Everybody got really sick. Everybody on the caravan was sick, and all the journalists were sick. And so I agree with you about the rides thing. And even more than inserting yourself, it's kind of like if you get on that truck, you're taking the spot of a migrant. So we chose to not do that. But we had a car, so we were really lucky. We had a very good amount of resources that not every publication has. I was down there for exactly a month. And basically, we flew into Tapachula, which is one of the furthest cities south that you can fly in Mexico. And we caught up to them in Arriaga, which was that first town we kind of landed on in the film. And we had a driver. We had a fixer who's a local journalist from southern Mexico who was essentially like a producer with me the whole time. And then for the first leg, we had another camera person. It was my co-producer, myself, and a camera person, a driver, and a fixer. And then we decided that was way too much because the logistics were just, it was like 2 a.m. call times or 3 a.m. call times or 4 a.m. call times. And it was just kind of like we never had a plan because the caravan, it's not like they know exactly where they're going every day or when they're going to move. They would kind of decide that on a daily basis. And so we'd have to keep tabs on that really, really closely. And so by the end, it became my co-producer and I, and we just shot the whole rest of the piece. We would just check in every single night and ask them where they were going, if they're planning on leaving, especially Mario. We were going to follow a few other people, those women in that last scene that I showed you, but their story just got way too complicated. So logistically, we just couldn't follow it. So we had to kind of cut their story out of the film and only use them to kind of show process and, set the scene and set the environment. What else? It was kind of like, it was a big guessing game. In the following scene that I didn't show you, I was trying to figure out where Mario, he called me. He's like, okay, we're moving to Puebla today. And so we had taken a break in Mexico City for like 2 days. And then I had to call the driver and be like, okay, we have to go to Puebla right now. And I have no idea where they're arriving. And there's like 6 shelters. And so we went around the city just guessing and waited for like 6 hours. And finally he rolled around the right shelter where we were at like 11 p.m., 12 hours after he'd called me. So it is just kind of being there and trying to be with them as much as possible. But, hitchhiking and being with them or sleeping on the ground with them, I would really respect somebody who did that. We didn't do that. We had sometimes we had a hotel, sometimes a motel on the side of the road, and just kind of wherever we landed that night, we'd look for somewhere we could sleep.
And before, just one last one, I'm sorry. Because is there something, a picture you wish you had made that you didn't, or if you, when you're thinking back and all the work you did, is there, something you would have done differently in retrospect? And if that's too off the point, you don't have to go there. You can think about it, but if it doesn't come to mind quickly, then it probably wasn't that important of a question.
I wish I had convinced my senior producers to get on board with doing kind of like a full-length follow the whole caravan, follow 3 characters or three migrants from the beginning, because we didn't know what this was going to be. Like, this could have easily been a 3-minute news segment or 6 minutes, and they honestly kind of forgot about us because the midterms were happening and they were all distracted over here. And so then we're like, we really just need to follow them till the end. Otherwise, like, what's the point of us? Like, this is an incomplete story. So I wish we could have done more. But that said, I'm they gave us the full episode, so that's generous from them.
Mine is, I guess, sort of similar. So I remember coming back, and it was around Thanksgiving. And I got married in the middle of this whole thing. So I flew straight back from the caravan and had to be, or no, it was like the day after we got married, 2 days after I left for the caravan again. Anyway, and so that I did not regret. That was not my regret. No, I came back around my mom's birthday for Thanksgiving, and I had this weird gut feeling that I needed to be back down in Tijuana. I just felt it. And I kept asking my editors, and I kept asking, and it just kept not happening. And I think maybe if I had really, really pushed hard, it might have worked out, but I really don't know. But I just remember looking at the news, and that was when the tear gas happened at the border, and I just felt my heart just drop. It's like I knew, for whatever reason, I knew I needed to be there, and I could have gotten there within like a couple hours of that, and I just didn't make it. And that, I think that was my biggest regret, was like just not trusting your gut enough to get back in it.
I'm actually with you on that. They didn't want us to keep following more people, and Mario, our main kid, had stayed in Mexico City, and we had to go back and do this like interview with him, and where he was living with his uncle, and so we also missed, the tear gassing, and everybody's like, "Oh, thank God you're okay. You're not there," and I'm just like, "No, you don't understand. Like, we should have been there.